Hello, folks. So it's my Tuesday brainstorming cartoon stream, and the idea last night, I completely blanked out on the Olympics last week, but that doesn't mean we can't do some cartoons with my characters doing sports like activities. Um, so we're going to get right into that. Well, let's start with, well, always start with the eyeballs, and I'm never entirely sure whether it's gonna be Noah, Ruth, his wife Ruth, or his kid Ursula, but something about those eyes before I even drew in the bangs told me it was gonna be Noah. So, I actually it's in 2025, or it might have been 2024. I think it's 2025. My webcomic Noah's Archipelago. I had a whole little storyline where Noah, on orders from the wife Ruth, was hassling Ursula to pick a sport. In the end, I don't know that Ursula well, she didn't like sports. She was kind of in enough after school activities and figures they make them run laps at school, so why bother? But anyways, Noah uh, spotted up roller skates and fell back in love with uh, roller skating. Noah being in his late 40s, so would have been a kid in the 80s, and roller skating was the thing. Even for those of us who weren't good at it, although I was kind of not too bad at it, except then I got pushed at the roller rink by some older kids, had a hairline fracture in my ankle, and honestly, after that, I kind of never really got back into it. But one of these days, I actually, not that long ago, last year. I guess whenever I was working on this particular storyline, I ended up picking up or ordering a pair of roller skates from Amazon, like in a decent quality pair, right? So, but I have not had a chance to practice with them. Actually, I still need to get like safety stuff. So, anyways, so a quick little sketch. I'm going to do some small sketches on this page, and then we'll start doing some bigger drawings. Let me kind of bring that up a bit so we can see the whole page in there. And what I'm sketching with initially, this is a Prismacolor. It's 919. This is the non-photo blue. So it's kind of a bit from traditional comics where you would sketch in the blue. The idea would be back in the day, you would Xerox after inking, but the blue would just vanish. So, whereas if you do your sketch in regular pencil, or in a lot of people like doing like the red pencil crayon sketch, that's going to show up when you scan it. Now, the red, the benefit is if you're painting or whatever and you're doing human flesh tone, then it kind of vanishes into the flesh tone. But if you're doing black and white, you want the non-photo blue. So that's kind of how I normally start. And yeah, we'll just kind of do this one and then another one and then another one, right? So, and then for inking right now, I'm just using the Staedtler pigment liners. I've got, well, you can see they're in the frame, a whole bunch of different colored ones. So, um, anyways, so it's kind of a running gag that Noah's wife, Ruth, thinks Ursula needs a sport. Now, Ruth insists that Ursula take swim lessons and swim camps in the summer and has her in gymnastics. And then the two grandmas, one has her in Highland dance and the other one insists on ballet, even though Ursula hates both of them. So, really, she already has sports, right? But Ruth has delusions of grandeur of Ursula choosing a sport and participating willingly, I guess. Um, and I think Ursula has chosen the most sport that she could think of was archery. So she also is in afternoon archery, um, which one of her characteristics is that In the summer, she's very much into being a super soaker sniper, hiding in bushes and nailing her assorted family members with her favorite super soakers. Actually, I guess that technically they went well, super soaker, I think, is probably like a trademark thing. So I guess the generic term is water blaster, but anyways, I tend to I probably should stop calling them super soakers in the comic, but anyways, we will see Ursula with her super soaker snipers later. They do have shooting sports in the Olympics. None of them involve super soakers, but that's clearly an oversight on their part. Um, so, Noah in love with roller skates. Probably not the greatest job of drawing roller skates, but or maybe he cheaped out and got the crappy ones that aren't particularly well built, and that's why they look the way I've drawn them. With uneven wheels. You get what you pay for. Although, trying to remember now which brand I got. I want to say Candy something or other. I don't think they were Moxie roller skates, but anyways, um, they weren't crazy expensive, but they weren't the cheap ones either, like $100 a pair, which I figured was probably a decent sort of thing. Oh yeah, I got to put the little stopper on the front. I mean, maybe Noah's into jam roller skating when they don't really use that. Anyways, oh, whoops. How could I forget Noah's hairy chest? It's a bit of a mismatch that I draw his chest super hairy, but his arms aren't, because realistically, not all, but a lot of guys, if they have a super hairy chest, also have hairy arms. But Noah probably gets his forearms waxed. You know, but yeah. Anyways, let's start adding a little bit of color. And I think I've explained in previous. These Artist Loft calligraphy markers are awesome. I got them years ago, like 2 or 3 sets, and most of them I use, especially like the colors, certain colors I use all the time, and haven't seen this particular kind of marker in the Michaels stores in ages, but mine are still going strong. So maybe that's why they stopped making them. It's like these don't seem to run out of ink. How can we make a profit off of that? I don't know. Um, so we go there, and I think with the brainstorming streams, I know I've drawn Noah at least once because a couple weeks back when I did the no, it wasn't superheroes. It was the circus brainstorming stream. He showed up at the very end as a substitute ringmaster for Myles. Myles, of course, not wanting a substitute ringmaster. But Ursula had called in Noah because she was sick of having to clean out lion poop. So, anyways, Noah has a tendency to like obnoxiously vibrant colors. Trying to think, I think men's roller skates tend to be black, but you know what? We'll just ignore that reality. So we'll give them a couple different blue tones. I have heard that roller skating might start making a bit of a comeback. A few years ago, I was kind of thinking of taking it up again, but the only place that had lessons, well, I say a few years ago, I just realized that I still lived in Vancouver, so it would have been 10 years ago because I've lived on Vancouver Island since 2017. But anyways, at that point, in like 2015, 2016, somewhere like that, the only place that was really offering lessons for roller skating was like the roller derby clubs. I was like, I mean, I guess they probably taught just straight roller skating, but part of me is like, yeah, I'm not into spiral fractures. Like, I know not everybody gets those, but you hear a little bit about the injuries involved in roller derby. It's like, yeah, no, thank you. I would just kind of like to putz around the neighborhood on going a little bit faster than I can on foot. So yeah. What I gotta do actually is order like a helmet and elbow and knee pads and then just like move my coffee table out of the way in my living room and just do like really basic I think the first thing actually I do, you don't even like skate per se, but you put them on and then you'd like kind of like make little marching steps like an inch at a time. That'll probably be terrifying enough for me. And then when I get brave around um, the more padded surfaces, I do have a concrete covered patio out back. So covered being the important thing because then there's posts where you can kind of go like, okay, I just have to get 8 feet to the next post. I do remember after the incident, um, going over to my best friend's place, and she lived like two doors down from a church that had a like a covered patio kind of walkway between um, the church and the parking lot. So we used to kind of do that a little bit as well, where we were kind of like very slowly walking and kind of going post to post. So it would probably be my approach to getting back on roller skates as well. But yeah, anyways, Noah looks a little bit deranged here, but should I give him eyelids? Maybe I should give him eyelids so he won't look quite so like, "Ah." There we go. Yeah, that looks better. Now he merely looks in love with the roller skates and not so demented. So I did do a little brainstorming list earlier about some of the characters and sports that we might get around to today, and I realized I wrote cartoon sports ball, but uh, the only well, no, I do have one of the characters who seemed like she would be into tennis, and another one who might be kind of more into golf. So I guess there are like two ball sports on the docket. Why am I dropping these in? There. Yeah, let's give Noah a lime green shirt. Eh? Those markers probably more or less toast. But sometimes I find put them back in the bag and I pull them out again later and they're just fine. So we got our Noah, and his favorite sport is roller skating. Um, Actually, his favorite sport is yoga, but figured it was a little early in the stream to draw Noah just wearing a speedo, like bent over with his butt in the air. Uh, the wife would probably prefer that we don't have that view at all. So next, well, I mentioned Ursula, the Supersoaker sniper. So let's give our little sniperess some cover to hide behind. Actually, when I was a kid back in the 80s, water guns actually looked like guns. Like I had one that was like a hot pink clear plastic that actually looked like a be the Colt, like the giant gun from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The super crazy cartoon looking Western like revolver. It was like that, but pink clear plastic. It was a pain in the butt to fill too. But anyways, nowadays, of course, kids the water blasters just kind of look like rectangles, and I get it because I think there have been some kids with weapons that were just a wee bit too realistic, um, and bad things happened. But yeah, not that I mind actually. But anyways, where I was going with that is I realized last summer I should probably um, get a couple water blasters. So I got a couple on clearance at Walmart at the end of the summer. So I have them as drawing references. So did I bring one over here? No, of course not. But you know, right, blue with a little orange tip. Oops, sorry about that. Come on, document camera, stay still. Yeah, the camera, as if the camera wasn't staying still, and then I came along and bumped it. But anyways, that's because my bag of markers is like right here, and then just in front of it, between the bag of markers and the sketchbook, is the document camera. And let's give Ursula a little thought bubble. It would help if I could spell my own character's name. Ursula. Mind you, it's okay. Ursula's a bad speller too. She probably, one presumes she knows how to spell her own name, but apart from that, she thinks spelling is just a racket for the teenagers, to paraphrase something from an old Sopranos episode. Ursula. Ursula actually has a lot of, not so much in the webcomic per se, but when I do these little kind of extra cartoons, there's something about Ursula that just seems like she would have, well, A, that she has a very active imagination, and B, that she imagines herself as like kind of military-esque positions. So she's the Supersoaker sniper. There's another one where I think I did last summer. It was just like a quick little sketch in my sketchbook where um, her grandma has a pool, like her mom's mom, and her dad Noah likes hanging out in the pool, just sitting on one of those, the inner tube style floaties. So he's on the floaty, he's napping. Ursula's got a snorkel and her water pistol. Or it might have been a Nerf blaster, one of those. But she's swimming up behind Noah thinking, the Navy frog Ursula approaches the target, coming up to ambush him. I mean, she would ambush her siblings, but her brothers are a lot older than her. And then her sister's a baby still, so, she'd get in trouble if she blasted the baby sister. So, therefore, the parents and grandparents are the main targets. And Noah is a stay-at-home dude, so he's the one who's the most easily blasted with the water gun. And let's do her little hair tie. Gonna color coordinate with Noah's wheels. Put the kind of arborvitas or whatever they are in the background. Leland cypress, maybe. Kind of not the right shade of green for either one of those, but whatever. So now we've got two of our characters in their first sports choice. And then, of course, these guys are from my webcomic, Noah's Archipelago. My other comic project that I'm working on is Ricky B. the Rock and Roll Rat. And let's draw Ricky now. We have a different style. Like the Noah guys all have bug eyes. And part of the reason for that is actually when I first was developing the characters, I actually thought I was going to build some Muppet like puppets. So that's why they have the bug eyes, because they were originally going to be puppets with, and, well, I mean, not all puppets have bug eyes, but a lot of them do, especially the Muppet style ones. And I never got around to building them. Plus, it wasn't so much the puppets, it was I started envisioning, especially Noah, running around and having these complex sets and all that. And I realized, well, if I'm going to, you know, I don't have a soundstage to film the thing on. So, you know, decided I kind of was going to have to, I got to stop and think about finger position on Ricky. Realized that I was going, if wanted to do justice to it as a puppet show, I needed like freaking warehouse and like all this sort of stuff. It's like, yeah, that's not going to work. And I realized, well, I can draw it, and that's basically free. My drawing skills are also, I realize these are very rough sketches, but my drawing skills are definitely a lot better than my puppeteering skills. So that said, I do still want to make some puppets. I think that would be kind of a really fun thing to do. Ricky might be able to tell here. He's kind of missed the whole sports thing. It's not showing up super well yet, but, Ricky's idea of what he would like to compete in the Olympics is as a competitive eater. You just indicate there's, like, a pile. And my other main dude, Myles, uh, yes, last night I was inking a page from a book that I'm working on featuring Myles. Myles is always one to, burst people's bubbles, so Myles would be coming up going, "There's no Olympic medals for competitive eating, you dumbass." And Ricky would be like, "There ain't, but ain't that what the whole," I was gonna say American way is, but, we do that in Canada as well. Um, honestly, yeah, I think Canadians and Americans pretty much neck and neck in terms of obesity rates and heart disease, all that sort of stuff. So, anyways, I'm working on a book featuring Ricky, which so far, well, this particular book does not have competitive eating in it. Um, but on Fridays, my stream is all about inking that. Um, Thank you, phone. I don't know if that picked up in the mic, but that was my phone advising me that it is garbage day tomorrow, so I have to remember to put out my, bins. Uh, Now I completely lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, so anyways, Ricky, on Fridays at 6 p.m. Pacific, you can see me using old dip pen and India ink to work on, a Ricky book. I gotta make sure to give him some claws because he is a rat, and that's kinda what they do. Uh, Anyways, I also do some short stories with, Ricky and Miles and whatnot, and I was actually thinking one that I haven't written down yet, but, the story would be somehow having to do with eating and Ricky recalling the time and his obsession with food, kinda got him in trouble at school. Not really him in trouble, but got his mom in trouble because, he was eating like crazy and to the point where the school counselor was a little concerned about, things okay at home. And then it would turn out that all it was his grandma, his paternal grandma told him that, he ought to be eating while he still can because everyone in his family, the Rattarath clan, can eat whatever they want till they turn 37. When they turn 37, they suddenly turn into a blimp, and then they can't eat like they like no more. So Ricky, as a small young rat, took this to heart and started stuffing his face as much as he could. And then the teachers were a little concerned about why. But anyways, that's a very poor way of explaining the storyline. But that's because I haven't actually written the story yet. It's just bouncing around in my head. So Ricky, well, he's a rat, so he does have claws. But anyways, he's taking his grandma quite literally, even to this day. She said, as soon as you turn 37, you're gonna get fat. You won't be able to eat like you want it anymore. So Ricky's only 23. So as long as he's still able to pack away the food without having issues, he is absolutely doing that. Sure hope I've got a marker that's kind of a good hot dog bun color. I'm not sure that I do, but yeah, we'll make it work. I've drawn some mustard coming off. I'm not sure if in competitive eating whether they actually do use condiments or whether it's kind of can't recall offhand. Not that I've seen very many competitive eating competitions, but I have seen some clips on like YouTube and whatnot. I'm just pulling out anything that could even vaguely be bun or wiener appropriate. Mm, and then also for Ricky's ears and tail. So, first of all, rats and mice, when they're happy and relaxed. Oh, hello, I should be paying attention to the chat. Hi, Gaming with Crab. Hi, the One Piece is real. Can I draw a stick figure on Ricky's head? Sure. Put it in a little thought bubble. Anyways, the ears go pink. Actually, that might be a fairly light shade of pink. Because what I heard actually is that rats and mice, when happier they are, the more relaxed they get, the more blood flow going to their ears, and then they turn really pink. Actually, he loves eating. Let's give him super, super pink ears. Yeah, that marker. Yeah, it's a little bit pink. It's kind of more purplish, but I like the drawings. Thank you. Here we go. Yeah. I feel like this is going to be mustard, but I feel like I better test it. Yeah, it's kind of a little more brown. Guess it depends whether it's like natural mustard or like crazy chemical dye mustard. We'll assume that he's got the non-natural. So this actually looks like it would be a pretty good bun color. At least it'll be a start to the bun color. We have a slightly more toasty. Yeah, I guess they don't really toast the hot dog buns, do they, for eating competitions? But yeah, anyways, Ricky might be practicing at home, so to move those off of Noah's face, he'll be very offended. Yeah, a good sort of hot doggy wienerish color. That's too dark, although it would be good for burn marks, grill marks. Uh, wrong shade. I think we're going to go with that one. Some grill marks here, which are going to blend in with his claws, but oh well. Already lost my gray. Silver. There we go. Yeah, we'll just put a little color. Well, I guess technically black's not a color now, is it? It's a shade. Uh, put some tone into Ricky's jacket. And what am I looking for? Oh, yeah, I want a little bit of dark gray for in his shades and the highlights. There we go. And I said I'd draw Myles, Myles being ever the critic. Myles, by the way, is Ricky's girlfriend's half-mouse cousin, who's kind of a snob and a know-it-all. Now, how would you phonetically spell where he's saying it's not, but his mouth is full, so it would be like what? What? We'll put a translation. Of course, the cousin's in the middle. Girlfriend's brother doesn't appreciate our relationship, but he's still kind of chill about it. Yeah, well, it's kind of one of those things where I think Myles is determined that Ricky's kind of all right, but he still wants to be a bossy snob, so he's going to pretend like he dislikes Ricky more than he actually does. But we'll give Myles his little tail too. And Myles likes being more of a know-it-all than the people around, so that would also make his ears bright pink with the joy of smugness. Yeah. Yeah. Myles is We'll color in his hair a little bit as well. I think it's time to move on to the next page and to Myles's sport interest. And I do have a quick little sketch that I did in a different sketchbook this morning. I was having breakfast with my dad, so I'm going to use that as the reference. But because, Myles being loud and obnoxious, there's an obvious, and also short because of the half mouse thing. There's a kind of an obvious position for him. The only thing that I know of offhand where you could get a gold medal just for yelling at people. It's a little too big, but there we go. And job, of course, is being a coxswain in rowing. And we're not going to see the rest of the rowers because they're kind of leaned back pulling. Plus, with Myles being a snob, well, where is he going to have gone to college? Well, to the Mouse version of Harvard, Mousevard. And they always have that rowing race with Yale, which I guess the Mouse version would be Mouse Yale or Vol College or something like that. Yeah. I was reading a whole bunch of stuff about traditions with, I think I need a different marker here. Traditions with the coxswains and the rowing. This is Mouseford. Yeah. If they're anything like Harvard, they've won Mouseford has won the rowing race something like 90 odd times over the past 100 years. Little outfit. I couldn't help but think that it kept reminding me of. I think it was the episode of The Simpsons where Mr. Burns is like leading his staff in calisthenics, and he's wearing like the Yale. Is it the Yale? But his old Ivy League varsity sweater. In any case. Forgot that there would be some sort of a rigging thing for the oar, but whatever. Friend of mine actually years ago when we were at UBC, she was on the rowing, not the rowing team, but I guess there was a rowing club, and she was the coxswain. So I think they have like there's like a minimum weight, but everybody wants to have the coxswain as close to the minimum weight as possible. And at the time, she weighed like 102 pounds. Or it might have been might have been like a dragon boat thing, but she had all sorts of fun yelling at people to row faster. Yeah. One presumes Mousevard has an official color of red, much as Harvard does. Let me see if I can find the right shade. I think those are all a little too bright. Harvard is a little bit duller. Let's see what this one is. Yeah, that's probably the closest I'm going to get to Harvard red. Yeah, that's a little too bright. Person screaming at the rowers looks like a character from Big City Greens. Oh, I'll have to check that out. I haven't heard of Big City Greens before. Greens. Yeah, this is my character Myles. You started drawing him in 2023 or so. You can find on Disney or Hulu. Okay. Hulu. Let me just make a note. Disney. And a little bit of the riverbank. We won't bother too much with background, but kind of does help with setting, I think. Miles Morales from a different universe. Oh, okay. Miles Morales, I don't follow the Spider-Man stuff too much, but I've definitely heard he was like he took over from what's the other guy's name? Peter Parker at some point in the comics, and I think one of the movies or something. So I have a vague idea about some of that stuff. Yeah. So, where is my Yeah, maybe Myles is wearing gray slacks or something like that. Let's make the boat red. Team colors and all that. These particular markers do sure smear the black pigment pen a lot, which I think is probably the problem of the Stapler markers. Just looking to see, I think I've got on this desk, I only have one of the microns. I don't think the microns smear like that, but let's, oh, it would help if I did that. No, they smear too. Never mind. And now just a little hint of tan in the sweater. I guess the obvious next thing, um, whether they win or lose. Now, I did look up, and apparently it is traditional. If you win the rowing race, the rowers throw the coxswain in the water as a celebration. That's what they say, celebration, or just like, okay, we've had enough of you and we've got our medal now. But Myles is annoying enough that they'd probably throw him in even if even if they didn't win. So I gotta kind of figure out perspective as I do this because I did not sketch this one in advance. Instant karma, yeah. Like I said, it is part of the tradition when you win, but I'm thinking they're throwing him in before the race is over. Had enough of his crap, and they'd rather forfeit. The sweater goes up, almost like a cape. And we see his feet in the background and his tail. We'll say he's just about to hit the water surface. And where would the guess they would have rushed to the front of the boat. Of course, I'm doing this, it would actually be here, so throw him off forward, so the other rowers are just gonna be out of frame, but that's how it goes. Still doing Well, being loud is part of the job of being a coxswain. Because I guess they're kinda sort of the coaches, or coach's little pet or whatever. I don't know, I don't row, but love. This would actually make a fun painting. I'll have to bookmark this sketch. Come back to it later on canvas. Presumes that what they actually wear would be probably sneakers and whatnot, but Myles seems more like a wing-tipped guy. Not that it really matters from this angle. You can't really tell what shoes he's wearing, but here we go. And a little bit of sweater here. Definitely going to be a lighter pink on the ears because he's not so happy about this part. Just yeah, there we go. I was gonna say I just had that dark gray marker. Excuse me. And obviously, I would need to get some reference photos of the front end of a rowing shell, but good enough for now. Now, let's move on from Miles for now. So, Ricky has been told that competitive eating isn't a sport. So, and we did just have the Winter Olympics. So, his next thought about what could be a sport be something that he and his cousins used to do as kids. And let's see if I can manage to get my reference here. Bit of a weird angle for Ricky, but probably something that was easier to do when he was a little rat. He'll be sitting like a frog, but it is what it is. Probably doesn't really read properly because I'm not much of a car drawer, but the idea here is Ricky and his cousins. His cousins were from that kind of, excuse me, a particular kind of white trash family that always had like a lot of like broken cars and car parts around in the yard. So I envisioned them instead of toboggans when it was snowing, they would like take an old car hood down up to, well, I guess up, yeah, up the hill to go sliding tobogganing down it on an old like Chevy car hood or whatever. So here's Ricky as an adult reclaiming that glory, probably teaching it to his nephew. Usually Ricky tends to not wear a shirt, but if it's cold enough for car hood tobogganing, then it's probably a good idea to throw a sweater on. Even if they don't look doesn't have competitive in the I know, exactly. And there's like prize money for it and whatnot. The Olympics doesn't recognize it as a sport, because they're all about health and stuff, even though they're sponsored by McDonald's and Coca Cola. My cousin's the crazy woman. Well, yeah, because Miles's cousin, baby Barbara, is Ricky's girlfriend, and yeah, she's her own kind of crazy. She wouldn't tell him that it doesn't count as a sport, though. She just wants to be proud when he wins. Oh, so she doesn't want to have to be the one cooking all the hot dogs. But apart from that, she's very supportive. And let's leave Miles out of this one. Although I could see him up there going, car hood tobogganing isn't a sport either. And Ricky just be like, yeah, whatever, Miles. You just don't know how to have fun. Probably pretty cold on the butt, though, I would think. Yes, his tail. So... And even though it's almost March, let's draw Ricky wearing an ugly Christmas sweater because, Grandma made it for him, right? Exactly. Whee! Key is being able to make your own fun. Use a lighter blue to show some shadow in the snow. It's probably not even going to show up really, but oh yeah, you can sort of see it a little bit on camera, but let's see here. We'll assume that this is a car from like the 70s when everything was like avocado green. And see if I've got a good rust colored marker here. Yes. I have a few little rust spots. There's Ricky with his car hood toboggan. Next, sports for one of my characters. Not really a winter sport, but let's go with a little bit of tennis. And we're gonna have here, I think I'm gonna draw Ricky's girlfriend first of all, and then Noah's wife. So just rough in forms. Yeah, I guess that would go, let's say, around like that. And then Ricky's girlfriend, baby. Ricky being our last dude of the toboggan for anyone who's just popping in. More people, yeah. It's up and down always, you know. Excuse me, sorry, I'm coughing. Um, I do notice, since I started, doing some streams in January, I've kinda gone back and forth between, streaming vertically on my phone and, streaming horizontally with right now I've got a document camera. I'm using my laptop. I do notice the horizontal ones usually a lot lower views. So like my Monday and Friday streams from now on, it's just like, okay, I am just going to be doing those on the phone vertically because I think that's kind of, I'm going to do the streams anyways, but it's nicer if YouTube actually puts it out so people can see it, right? But I do find with these ones, because of how I like to make clips and whatnot, it kind of works better horizontally. So the the downside of that is that well, not nobody, but fewer people see them. But you know, might catch up eventually. So here's baby gonna have a tennis match with Ruth, who is Ursula's mom and Noah's wife. And Ruth actually likes tennis. Well, they both like tennis, but for different reasons. Ruth likes to play, and Baby likes taking tennis selfies. So, Trying to go back. Did I reference TikTokers? Not specifically, although um, this is Ricky's girlfriend, Baby, who is Miles's cousin, and she's obsessed with selfies, so kind of more Instagram, or in their world, it's Insta Rat. But I could see her doing TikTok if she figured uh, she would get enough attention out of it. But So good. I tried. And gotta go. Hey, no problem. Thanks for hanging out, and hope to see you again on future streams. Take care. I've got baby taking a zillion selfies because that's kind of her thing. But also, I mean, it would kind of help throw off your competitor, psych them out and get them frustrated and whatnot. So strategically, it might even, although I'm pretty sure the rules of tennis don't really allow you to fart around and take a million selfies before starting your game or in between shots, but it probably would help annoy your opponent into throwing the game accidentally, making mistakes. But that's probably not why Baby is doing this. She just takes a million selfies every day. All right. So I think that is gonna be it for today's stream. Let's quickly flip through. So our theme was started out with cartoon sports ball, but really only the tennis and the rowing actually are sports. So we've got Noah from my webcomic Noah's Archipelago, dreaming of roller skates. His daughter Ursula, you know, she loves her Supersoaker sniping, aiming at him. Down here we've got Ricky from my other comic project, Ricky B. the Rock and Roll Rat, doing a little competitive hot dog eating, or at least practicing for it. And Myles, who is Ricky's girlfriend, baby's half mouse cousin, being a spoil sport, advising Ricky that competitive eating, it doesn't count. And then, Myles is a loudmouth, and it's like, well, what? How could you be a loudmouth and not actually have? Well, I was gonna say and not have to do any rowing or other sports, but he is a coxswain, and the coxswains actually do train and row and whatnot. But um, Myles, in this case, he's going to get a gold medal, and all he has to do is yell. But actually, it's also a bit of a play on the Harvard Yale boat race. Um, and the mouse version being Mousevard, and that is Miles's alma mater. So there we have that. And the rowers, well, they've had enough of his crap, so they toss him in the water. Now, it is tradition often to if you win the race. Sorry, I'm a little stumbling over my words right now. That the rowers would throw the coxswain in the water, but clearly they didn't win, and they threw him anyways. Then we went to winter sports, and here is Ricky coming down a hill using an old, sort of rusty car hood as a toboggan or sled or uh, forget what they're called, but the things are kind of just like a rubber, round rubber thingy or plastic, not rubber. But they're not an inner tube. It's a different. Anyways, Ricky is making use of an old car hood for some winter fun. And then going back to summer sports, his girlfriend, Baby, is busy with a marathon selfieing session before she starts playing tennis with Noah's wife, Ruth. And Ruth actually does want to play tennis, so she's getting a little annoyed. Anyways, thank you to everyone who popped in and saw the stream while live and was chatting in the chat. Thank you so much for stopping by. And also, thanks to anyone who catches this on the replay. Hope you've enjoyed it. I will be splitting this up into clips, one per drawing, and posting those separately on my channel, but I'm a little bit behind in doing that. So probably be a couple weeks before that happens. But anyways, tune in again next Tuesday for another quick marker sketch brainstorming kind of a stream. Uh, with my characters doing all sorts of random fun things. And my next stream is going to be on Friday at about 6 p.m. Pacific, and I will be inking a page from the graphic novel I'm working on that features Ricky. He won't be riding a car hood. But anyways, so that is it for this week's brainstorming stream. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time. Bye for now.